Today I'm going to talk more or less on OT and ICS security, which is what I think it's a next big challenge. And it does have a bit of a synergy with what our good friend Hamish was talking about, the critical infrastructure and what he is doing with the Australian government. So yeah, so let me start talking about me. I'm a cybersecurity architect currently working at Interactive. Also, I sit within the Australasia Advisory Board. I've got 2 decades of experience in IT and even OT. So if I talk about my journey, my background is from the industrial product design, and I do understand the operations technology quite in depth. I started with that, and I moved to IT and cybersecurity in 2005. I'm from India and moved to Australia in 2010. So since last 11 years, have been working closely within the IT industry. I've been working with a number of ISPs, telecom industries, and also within the Victorian government. So if I talk about my strength, my strength is related to cyber strategy, multi-cloud strategy. I do understand the infrastructure quite in depth. OT, ICS, zero trust, and the risk-based approach around the cybersecurity. But I do prefer to talk about OT and ICS because I thought that Australian government is doing a lot of things around the critical infrastructure. So let's discuss the basics of what exactly operations technology and ICS is all about. So let's start with basics of understanding. So if anybody going on the Google and doing the searches, what is OT or what is IoT, IIoT, there are a lot of buzzwords which are going on in the industry. So all these things people will see. And just before I start, can I know that how many people are from the operational technology background? Anybody? Few of them. So if I make mistakes, then you should be able to get the real thing. Yeah, so if somebody Googles it, then they'll get all these details around the SCADA, Modbus, Industry 4.0. They'll see all the circuitries. But up till now, as an IT professional, we have never seen all these things. We are just talking about the routers, switches, firewalls, virtual machines. So what exactly is operational technology? So what is OT? What is IoT? There are a lot of misconceptions, and there are a lot of buzzwords which are going on within the industry, and people are just utilizing these all acronyms interchangeably. So I just have this picture, and I put IT as a green because as an information technology professional, we do understand IT quite in depth. We know what exactly around the security which we want to provide, like how we want to manage the security, how we want to manage the security around the infrastructure endpoints. But when it comes to the operations technology, we don't know what is happening. But as an IT service provider or a SOC service provider, in the future we are going to, and there are some providers which are already talking about providing a security 24/7 eyes on glass for the OT infrastructure. So what is IoT? It says that Internet of Things. So what does that mean? That up till now, we had like a dumb device. We had fridges, we had lamps, we had many dumb things inside our homes, on the road. And nowadays, we are connecting because what we want to do is we want to enable the smartness. We want to do the data analytics and predictions around there. So that's why we are connecting each and everything, whatever we can. And when we are connecting all the dumb devices, outside the industry, the term is called Internet of Things because it's connected to Internet. And when there is a sensor which has been deployed in the industry, that's where we call it industrial Internet of Things. Now, these both are the new acronyms which has been born, but OT, ICS, SCADA, PLC, the distributed control system was already there. It's been there since ages. But as an IT professional, we don't have much of view because it was always, and still it's been managed by the engineers and not the IT professionals. So why we are talking it now? OT and ICS infrastructure was already there, then why we are talking it now? That is because the OT and ICS were pretty much siloed. It was never been connected to the internet because everything was being controlled by the control panel, control systems, and everything was being worked through within the siloed environment. And as things are getting connected, the traditional air gaps are shrinking. And why it's happening now? Because there is a lot of digital transformation which is happening in the industry. There is a convergence of IT and OT and the cloud connectivity. And I know that when I talk about the IT and OT convergence, there's going to be a lot of debate in the industry, but we don't want to go into that debate. Also, there is an emergence of the Industry 4.0 ecosystem. So what exactly the Industry 4.0 system? It does talk about connecting all the machines to get the details inside of the data, what it has got. Like as an example, if you have got a machine, CNC machine, and if you want to do a predictive maintenance, we should be knowing that when the bearing is going to fail. So we are only able to do it by connecting it through some cloud providers or cloud services, and that's what Industry 4.0 ecosystem talks about. Also, there is too much of a sophistication within the threat, and nowadays we are also seeing a lot of geopolitical tensions. And that's why as air gaps are shrinking, we should start thinking about the security around OT and ICS infrastructure. Now, if you want to provide security and solutions and a 24/7 eyes on glass around the SOC, then without understanding the actual end devices, the endpoints, the protocols which are used in the OT and ICS industry, we will never be able to provide the proper solutions around that. Up till now, we know that what is IP address. We know TCP IP. We know HTTP. But when somebody talks about Modbus, and somebody talks about the Profibus, or if somebody talks about SCADA and PLC, as IT professionals, we don't know what exactly it is. So first and foremost thing is to understand the ecosystem, understand the devices, understands the vendor name. We are not talking about Cisco's and Junipers. We are talking about Siemens and Schneider Electric, who are installing the devices within the ecosystems. We also talk about the wireless long range and the LPWAN. Like as an example, LoRaWAN, Sigfox are the new upcoming protocols which are heavily being used nowadays in connecting the IoT sensors. So main thing what I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to provide a security around the OT and ICS environment, we should be going in depth to understand the ecosystems and the protocols which are being used in the industry. Now, let's talk about a bit of an issue. There are issues within the OT and ICS security when we talk about securing the environment. It's been the protocols which have been used within the industry have been proprietary. Like as an example, if Siemens is implementing a systems, they are using their own proprietary protocols. And these all systems are, as I said, that it's always been managed by engineers and not IT professionals. So we need to understand the protocols and the proprietary systems which have been installed within the OT and ICS environment. The other challenge with respect to this industry is it's not easily upgradable or patchable. So if we think that there is a vulnerability and we want to do a patching within a motors or any kind of real-time operating system, it's not easy to do a patching like how we do with the Windows or any other infrastructure which is in cloud or endpoint. Also, there is a lack of encryption due to its limited memory and the processing power, which is a challenge in itself. The ecosystem and the protocol is designed by not thinking about the security. So it's insecure by design in itself. As I said, that the protocols which are used are different. So it uses the specialized communication and the protocol, so which is a bit of an issue for us to understand, because until and unless we don't understand, we will not be able to provide the security around this. The system is designed insecurely. So these are all the issues which I see from the OT and ICS security point of view, which will be a challenge when we talk about providing a security and 24/7 eyes on glass in this environment. Yeah, so this CIA triage model we are talking about, and there are three principles what we talk about always: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if there is any kind of a PI data or PHI data, from the IT perspective point of view, we always think about like confidentiality first. Confidentiality is always given the preference and the importance when we talk about the IT security, and then comes the integrity and availability. But when it comes to ICS and OT environment, we don't talk about confidentiality. We always talk about the availability. If the system goes down, like as an example, if the electricity or gas infrastructure goes down, it's a big thing. So the main importance, the first importance is always and always given to the availability, and then the integrity. And when I say integrity, like as an example, if there is a system which, and a sensor which is sending a temperature data, the temperature is very, very important. So availability, integrity are the two topmost things which we focus on when we talk about ICS and OT security instead of confidentiality. So as an analyst or as a person who wants to provide solutions around this, we need to change our mindset. And when we are talking about IT and OT convergence and have a SOC, eyes on glass for OT as well as IT environment from the same room, we need to have a two different mindset when we look into the incident which is coming up from the IT systems as well as from the OT systems. We have always talked about OSI layer model, like which talks about layer 1 to layer 7. But here, when it comes to the OT environment, we always talk about the Purdue model. So Purdue model, here I've just put the revised Purdue model from the European Union. That is because the Purdue model had layer 0 to layer 5, but it never had the IIoT sensors or IIoT actuators inside it. But as we are talking about the smart industry, Industry 4.0 revolutions, and also we are talking about the smart ecosystems, there are a lot of sensors which are being deployed in the industry. And that's why if you look at the layer 1, it does shows that IIoT sensors and the actuators has straight direct connections to IIoT platform, which goes a bit away from the traditional Purdue model. And this is the new Purdue model which the European agency has proposed. And if I talk about all the layers, the layer 0 is where all the physical devices like valves, actuators, and many more other all physical machineries are there. Layer 1 is where we have got IoT sensors and actuators which are being deployed, which are connected to the IoT platform, which can do the data analytics. Layer 2 was always there, SCADA, RTU, PLCs, which were managing the machines in terms of controlling. Layer 3 is where we talk about the historians and the IoT platform, and then it's a DMG, which is like a perimeter protected by a firewall, and then comes to the IT world, where we have got ERP and all the cloud-based SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS systems. Now, if you think about the threat modeling, so as I said that OT and ICS networks were there since decades, but all the networks were never ever connected to the internet, but because of this proliferations of IoT and IoT, things are connected to the internet. And before it was not connected, the threat modeling was different. So anybody going on the site, it was a big threat. So physical security was looked at the time. There were insider threat, which was there, which is still there, and is going to remain. But now as these systems are connected, all the threats which were associated with the IT network, like the cyber criminals or the nation-state attack, it also comes in the picture when it comes to the OT security environment. Now, this slide shows that things are very easy if one want to learn from the hacker point of view as well as the people who want to do the defense point of view. There are a lot of tools which are freely available. Like as an example, we have got Shodan, where it will do a scan, and it does have a lot more detailing around vulnerabilities associated with all the deployed infrastructure. We have got OT systems vulnerability exploit database, which is available to learn, and it is also available for the hackers, and they should be able to check what kind of vulnerabilities which are associated for all the devices which are already been deployed. So by saying this, what I mean to say that information is readily available for the bad people and as well as for the people who want to do the protection of these systems. This talks about all the attacks which went. Let's think from the 2-decade point of view, and I have said that between 2001 and 2010, it was called a lost decade, and most of the people who know about the OT attacks, they know about the Stuxnet. And if you don't know, then just go and watch a movie, Zero Day Attack. So Stuxnet was attacked, which was on the Iranian nuclear power station, and before that attack came, nobody knew that even the attacks can be done on the OT and IT infrastructure. So before that, that's why I said that that's called a lost decade, because nobody knew about that. Then everybody came to know that this can be done. And if you think about the number of attacks between 2010 and 2015, the frequency was not that much high, but if you look at the number of attacks between 15 and 21, it keeps on increasing. So if you think about between 21 and 30, it's going to be a challenge for us. And as we all know, that currently there is a big challenge for us for the IT security, and having a OT and ICS challenge coming in, it's a big opportunity for us, but it's going to be a challenge for an industry. So this was one of the attacks which was on the Ukraine system, so Triton cyber attack, and as I said that currently there is already some of the systems which are getting convergence. So, and this attack does clearly shows that how the attack was being started, like the hacker got it into the IT environment, and from there it went laterally from IT to OT environment, which does shows that the OT and IT is converged. So the first step was getting access in the IT environment. From there, it goes into the OT environment, and then it modified the PLC. It modified the programmable logic control of the PLC, and that's how the attack was being functioned. So this slide, by showing this slide, what I want to put an importance is on the IT and OT. It is converged, and there is always a backdoor from IT to OT to go and move laterally. Now, there are two mindsets, as a defender and as a hacker. So if you think about hacker, what we want to know? We want to do a cyber attack on some systems, and for that, what we want to know, we want to learn what the system is all about. So for that, it's not hard. If you go on the eBay, you should be able to find lots and lots of resale systems which are available. So by spending few grand, you should be able to spin up a lab. In the room, you should be able to gather the information, set up an environment, do the reverse engineering, and simulate an attack, and learn that how the real world OT environment is set up, and do a net practice and go on the field to do the real attack. So it's easy, it's not hard. So from the defender point of view, if I think, I'll learn it, and then I'll try to defend it, but if you think from the hacker point of view, they'll be able to do the same thing. Now, if you want to defend the OT and ICS system, the first and foremost thing is what we are trying to defend. So the asset discovery is one of the foremost things. So if we don't know what kind of assets are there in the field, we will never be able to defend the systems. So if we talk about the type of asset discovery, there are many ways to do the discovery. The first and foremost, which is adopted in the industry, is the passive monitoring. So as our friend Hamish was talking about deploying sensors and sending data, so that sensor, what it does do the passive discovery, of the type of protocols, the type of devices, and from what all vendors the system does have. So passive monitoring, the active monitoring is what we are doing within the IT environment currently, and it can be implemented. But there is an issue when we talk about the active scanning within the OT environment. And then we can use the number of databases. So this slide shows the details around the architecturing, that if you want to do a discovery of all the devices which are on one of the sites, the way it can be done is by connecting the sensors to the core infrastructure, the core switches, where all the traffic is going on within the environment. We sniff a packet, we get the details of all the devices, we will get the details of all the protocols which are being used within the environment, and we should be able to discover the vulnerabilities associated with all the devices. So other than that, as I said, that there are many more ways to do it. The active way is all about scanning, but that's not a preferred way. But there are many vendor solutions which are available and which are being implemented nowadays, that if you want to do an active scannings, that can be done as a next stage or within a certain time frame whenever there is a maintenance window. Other than that, we already know that we do have a lot more other places from where we can find the details of what kind of devices has been installed. Like as an example, devices, if they are connected to switches, we should be able to check the type of devices through the MAC and CAME table. We can also be leverage the event logs and the other all logic programs which are being used. So main thing is about the discovery part. So once we have got the discovery, we know what we want to protect, what kind of devices are there, and what kind of vulnerabilities are there. Now, let's focus and talk about the vulnerability and patching. So up till now, what we are doing in the IT industry is like we will be doing the scanning, and while we are doing the scanning, it will come up with the details of the vulnerabilities, and what we will do that, okay, these are the vulnerabilities, let's do the patching. And as we all know, that up till now, within the IT industry, we are not able to resolve the issue around the patching. And I have never seen a company who can do the real effective patching, 100% everything patched. A patching is always going to behind. So that's why what we do focus on not just a CV score, we focus on the CVSS score and what it comes up with, like it does focus on the attack vector and what is important, what is critical, so that we focus on patching the critical stuff, which is critical to the business, critical to the infrastructure. But when it comes to OT, we will not be able to adapt the same methodologies, adapt the same system of patching, because we cannot patch until and unless, so as an example, if you have got a Siemens system, we'll say that, okay, vulnerability is there, we want to patch it. Now, we cannot do the patching because until and unless we have got a green signal from the people who are managing the systems, we will not be able to do the patching. Other thing is, we will not be able to have a downtime like how we are getting within the IT environment. We can't have the electricity grid going down. So that's why there is a set time where we can do a patching. The other thing is, as I said, that the system itself is not designed by thinking about the security. What does it mean? The protocol in the system is doesn't have a backed-in authentication and authorization mechanism. Meaning, if we are doing the patching and if we are able to reduce the vulnerability of the systems, any bad guys getting access to the systems, doesn't matter it's patched, they are in the environment. They should be able to do the config changes, and that's it. So patching is not that important, but by saying that, I'm not saying that we should not be patching it, but it's not the same methodology which needs to be applied, what we are doing it in the IT environment. Now let's talk about the zero trust and why zero trust. And as I said that zero trust is a new buzzword. It's a security framework. It's not a tool, basically. First thing is that. And when I'm talking about the OT and ICS, when I'm talking about OT and ICS infrastructure, I talk about zero trust is because the IT and OT network has been converged. So if we are not able to maintain the security of IT, it's going to be a threat to the OT environment. So what is zero trust? So zero trust has got four primary pillars: identity, devices, data, and the applications, and everything needs to be passed through the security policy. And if we talk about the three principles, what we do, we go with the assume breach method mindset. We don't trust anything. So we have to verify explicitly, and we always need to implement the least privileges. And after going with that mindset and implement the framework, we just need to maintain the basics. We do a proper hygiene. We have the multi-factor authentication. We do a training with the employee and then have a continuous monitoring. And we do leverage the Pty Ltd framework, which has got the framework for IT, and even it does have for the ICS environment. Now, as I said that we want to install the agent, and we always think about the OT security with the agentless model. So what does it mean that when we want to do the security in the OT, we want to do the discovery. We install an agent. We do get the details of the OT infrastructure. We also get the details of the risk and the vulnerabilities which are associated in the OT environment. We implemented the continuous monitoring. We have a zero trust model in the IT environment to prevent the lateral movement. And this is what I think should be an ideal model when the IT and OT is converged. And if you look from the left-hand point of view, that's an OT environment which does our Purdue model, and there are devices which we want to do the discovery, we want to do the monitoring, and we want to do the security around there. On the left-hand side, I just said that it is a level 4 and 5, which is IT environment, where we will have the ERP systems and other old system which will do the data collections. So when we have got a converged environment, what first preferred thing is to do the perfect network segmentation, do the basic hardening, and then deploy a network tape to do the discovery. Once we have got the discovery, connect the network tap and the sensors to the centralized SIM or SOC platform. And this is how the end solution looks like when we are managing the SOC for the IT and the OT environment. And we also know that there are some challenges when we are talking about the IT and OT security and the converged environment, but there are some solutions which are available. Like as an example, when we connect the OT environment to collect the data into the IT environment, we can also deploy, other than sensors, a hardware tap, a hardware diode, where only a one-way communications will go from IT to OT, and nothing will go from on the other way. So this is the ideal model, which I think, and we have done a lot of proof of concept and also have provisioned the solutions at a number of sites on our customer. And we are trying to do a much matured approach around the IT and OT converged SIM at Interactive. So I think this was it from my side around the OT and ICS, which is one of the big things and which everybody are trying to learn nowadays.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sanam. We might have time for one question if there is one floating around. Oh, one up the back.
Yeah, hi, John Friskin from Information Systems Group. Just interested in your observation about the take-up of IEC 62443.
IOCs?
IEC 62443.
Yeah, so IEC 62443 is the framework which has been heavily used in the OT industry. But I think what I do think is we need to come up with a new framework, a converged framework, and because when we talk about the framework that's been done from the specific industry focus, right? But when we talk about the IT and OT converged security, I think we also need to think about the NIST framework. We also need to think from the control framework point of view. So what I would say that instead of just focusing on the industry standard, because that's the siloed framework which has been designed and defined for IT and OT industry, but to have a very good security around IT and OT, single pane of glass, we need to think about the modified framework. That's what I think. Yeah, so it would be nice to have, we can connect separately and we should be able to discuss a lot more things, because I think from the OT security point of view, we are premature. We are very much at the base. And when we are talking about even we are struggling with the IT, providing a security with OT and the converged network, it's going to be a challenge.